Emily, you're such a mess. Look at this house. No wonder Marcus is worried about the kids. Patricia's voice dripped with fake concern as she wandered through my living room, deliberately knocking over a stack of folded laundry I just finished. I took a deep breath, watching her performance through tired eyes. My name is Emily Parker. I'm 32, and my stepmom had just launched her latest attack in her campaign to prove I was an unfit mother. The irony wasn't lost on me. The house had been spotless before she dropped by to check on us, as she'd been doing increasingly often since my father's business trip to Europe. The laundry she'd scattered, freshly cleaned and folded. The juice she'd spilled accidentally on the kitchen counter. I just wiped it down. Patricia, is there something specific you need? I asked, keeping my voice level as I watched her open my kitchen cabinets, making disapproving noises at my well-stocked pantry. The kids will be home from school soon, and I need to start dinner. She turned, her perfectly manicured nails drumming against my countertop. Oh, I'm just concerned. Your father and I worry about Lily and Jake. Single motherhood must be so challenging. The pause was deliberate, loaded with judgment. What she really meant was that she'd never approved of me getting divorced from Marcus, her best friend's son. The fact that he cheated wasn't important to her. Maintaining her social connections was. In her mind, I should have quietly accepted his infidelity to keep up appearances. We're doing fine, I replied, starting to pick up the scattered laundry. The kids are happy, healthy, and… Are they? Patricia interrupted, pulling out her phone. Because I have some concerning photos here. Lily looking quite unkempt at school. Jake wearing the same shirt twice in 1 week. She scrolled through her camera roll, her red lips curved in a smirk. I almost laughed. Lily had been playing soccer during recess in those photos. Of course she looked messy. And Jake's same shirt. He had 5 identical Star Wars t-shirts because he loved the design so much. But I knew better than to argue. Patricia wasn't here for explanations. She was here to build a case, just like she'd been doing for months. The surprise visits, the constant photographs, the leading questions to my children about whether they were happy with mommy. What she didn't know was that I'd seen this coming. 3 months ago, when she'd first started her campaign of concern, I'd installed nanny cams throughout the house. Not just ordinary cameras. These were high-end, motion-activated with crystal-clear audio. The teddy bear on Lily's shelf, the vintage clock in the living room, even the innocent-looking succulent pot in the kitchen. All equipped to record every move, every word. I should check the children's rooms, Patricia announced, already heading upstairs. Just to make sure everything is appropriate. I followed her, watching as she entered Lily's room. My heart pounded as she approached the shelf where the teddy bear sat, its glass eyes concealing a tiny lens. She reached into her designer handbag, pulling out what looked like a small bag of pills. Oh my, she gasped dramatically. What's this under Lily's bed? She bent down, and I clearly saw her drop the bag before straightening up with it in her hand. Emily, are these prescription medications? Unsecured, in a child's room. The teddy bear watched silently, recording every moment of her theatrical performance. Those aren't mine, I said calmly, and they weren't there when I cleaned this morning. Patricia's eyes narrowed at my lack of panic. I'm calling Marcus right now. This is exactly what we've been worried about. Drugs in the house, within reach of the children. She pulled out her phone, perfectly French manicured nails flying over the keypad. I crossed my arms, leaning against the doorframe. Go ahead. My calm seemed to unsettle her slightly, but she rallied, already speaking into the phone. Marcus, you need to come over right away. I found something disturbing at Emily's house. Yes, evidence, just like we discussed. Just like we discussed. The words hung in the air, damning in their implication. The teddy bear's hidden camera captured every syllable, every gesture, every moment of her calculated setup. The children will be home soon, I reminded her as she ended the call. You might want to be gone before they arrive. Patricia's smile was triumphant as she headed downstairs, the bag of pills clutched in her hand like a trophy. Oh, I'll be gone. But don't worry, Emily. Child Services will be very interested in what I found today. Sometimes, she paused at the front door, sometimes children are better off with their father, especially when their mother is clearly unstable. As the door closed behind her, I pulled out my phone and sent a quick text to my lawyer. It's done. She took the bait. Check the cameras. Sometimes the best defense is to let your enemy think they're winning. Patricia had no idea she just walked into a trap of my own making. The teddy bear had seen everything. And this was just the beginning. The next 48 hours unfolded exactly as I'd expected. Marcus arrived within minutes of Patricia's departure, his face twisted with manufactured concern. He demanded to search the house, conveniently looking in all the places where Patricia had already planted evidence. Empty wine bottles hidden behind the washing machine, suspicious bank statements showing large withdrawals, all forged, and even a burner phone with texts to an alleged drug dealer. What they didn't know was that my security cameras had caught Patricia sneaking into the back door the previous night, carefully placing each item. The vintage clock in my laundry room had a perfect view of her planting the bottles, while the camera in my home office captured her replacing my real bank statements with fake ones. "Emily, this is serious," Marcus declared, holding up the phone he'd discovered in my desk drawer. "We're taking this to court tomorrow. I've already filed for emergency custody." I maintained my composure, though inside I was shaking with anger. "Do what you need to do, Marcus." His confidence wavered slightly at my calmness. He'd expected tears, pleading, maybe even a breakdown that would further prove their point about my instability. Instead, he got cold detachment. The emergency custody hearing was set for 9 a.m. the next morning. I spent the night holding my children, assuring them everything would be okay. Lily, at 10, was old enough to sense something was wrong. Jake, only 7, just hugged me tighter than usual. "Mommy," Lily whispered as I tucked her in, "I saw Grandma Patricia putting things in your office yesterday. I was supposed to be napping, but I saw her through my door." I kissed her forehead. "I know, sweetheart. Don't worry. Sometimes adults do bad things, but the truth always comes out." The courtroom the next morning was tense. Patricia sat behind Marcus, her face a mask of concerned grandmotherly worry. She'd even brought tissues, dabbing at her eyes periodically for effect. Marcus's lawyer presented their evidence with flourish: the pills, the bottles, the phone, the bank statements, each item carefully selected to paint a picture of an unfit mother spiraling out of control. Then it was my lawyer's turn. "Your Honor," Sarah began, "before we proceed, I'd like to present some security footage from Miss Parker's home." She nodded to the bailiff, who wheeled in a TV screen. Patricia's face went pale. The footage was damning. Crystal clear images showed Patricia entering my house late at night, methodically placing evidence. The audio caught every self-satisfied mutter, every phone call to Marcus planning their strategy. The teddy bear's camera had the perfect angle of her planting the pills, while other cameras caught her replacing documents and hiding bottles. But the most damaging footage was from my kitchen camera the day before, capturing her entire conversation with Marcus. "Once we get custody," Patricia's voice rang clearly through the courtroom speakers, "we can sell her house. The property values in that neighborhood have skyrocketed. Marcus, you and Jessica can finally build that dream home you want." Marcus shifted uncomfortably in his seat as his new girlfriend's name was mentioned. The judge's expression darkened. "And the kids?" Marcus had asked in the video. "Oh, we'll send them to boarding school," Patricia replied dismissively. "That's what they need. Structure, discipline. Not this touchy-feely parenting Emily insists on." The footage continued, revealing their entire plot. How they planned to force me out of the neighborhood, sell my house, which I'd inherited from my mother, and ship my children off to boarding school. Also, Marcus and his girlfriend could build their perfect home. The judge's gavel came down hard, making Patricia jump. "This court takes a very dim view of manufactured evidence," he declared, his voice stern. "Mr. Thompson, not only is your emergency custody petition denied, but I'm ordering an investigation into potential criminal charges for false evidence and attempted fraud." Patricia stood up, her carefully maintained composure cracking. "But the pills, the drinking, the bank statements were all planted by you," my lawyer interrupted smoothly. "As the footage clearly shows, Your Honor, we have the original bank statements here, showing Miss Parker's actual financial situation, which is quite stable. We also have footage of Mrs. Thompson purchasing those exact pills from a pharmacy yesterday morning." The judge turned to Marcus. "Mr. Thompson, I suggest you and your stepmother leave now. The court will be contacting you both regarding potential criminal charges." As they fled the courtroom, Patricia's perfectly arranged world crumbling around her, I finally allowed myself to smile. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just exposing the truth, it's letting your enemies expose themselves. The aftermath of the custody hearing rippled through our community like a stone dropped in a still pond. Patricia's carefully cultivated image as the concerned grandmother crumbled overnight. Her country club friends, who'd been so quick to believe her stories about my unstable behavior, suddenly couldn't distance themselves fast enough. But the real changes came in unexpected ways. A week after the hearing, I was making breakfast when my father's car pulled into the driveway. He returned early from his business trip in Europe, looking older and more tired than I'd ever seen him. "I saw the footage," he said quietly, standing in my kitchen. "All of it, Emily. I had no idea Patricia was capable of this." I handed him a cup of coffee, noting the absence of his wedding ring. "Sit down, Dad." He slumped into a chair, running a hand through his graying hair. "She told me you were struggling, that she was just trying to help. I believed her because it was easier than admitting I'd made a mistake marrying her." The confession hung in the air between us. For years, my father had chosen Patricia's version of reality over mine. After my mother died, he'd been so desperate for companionship that he'd willingly blinded himself to Patricia's manipulation. "Where is she now?" I asked, though I already knew. The neighborhood gossip network was nothing if not efficient. "Gone. Cleared out our accounts and disappeared the day after the hearing." He laughed bitterly. "Turns out I'm not the first. She's done this before, marrying wealthy men, trying to control their children's inheritance, moving on when things fall apart." I sat across from him, remembering all the times I tried to tell him something was wrong, all the times he dismissed my concerns. But looking at him now, I saw something I'd never expected: remorse. Meanwhile, Marcus was facing his own reckoning. His law firm, embarrassed by his involvement in the custody scheme, had placed him on indefinite leave. His girlfriend Jessica, realizing their dream home plans were imploding, quickly found another wealthy prospect. The last I heard, he'd moved back in with his mother, who was suddenly much less enthusiastic about family dinners with Patricia. But the most profound changes were with my children. Lily, who'd been watching everything with those observant eyes of hers, asked me a question that broke my heart and healed it at the same time. "Mom," she said one evening, curled up next to me on the couch, "is that why you put cameras everywhere? Because you knew they were bad people?" I pulled her closer. "I put the cameras up because sometimes grown-ups don't believe other grown-ups. But they usually believe what they see with their own eyes." Jake, building a Lego fortress nearby, looked up. "Like when Grandma Patricia said you were messy, but the cameras showed her messing up our house." "Exactly like that." I smiled. Sometimes the truth needs a little help being seen. 3 months after the hearing, our lives had found a new rhythm. My father, trying to make amends, set up trust funds for Lily and Jake, legally ironclad ones that neither Patricia nor anyone else could touch. He started coming over for Sunday dinners, slowly rebuilding his relationship with his grandchildren and with me. 1 year later, I sat in my garden, the one Patricia had always criticized as too wild and unkempt, watching my children play. My father was there too, teaching Jake how to build a birdhouse, while Lily practiced her soccer moves nearby. "You know," my father said, taking a break from his carpentry lesson, "your mother would be proud of how you handled everything. She always said you had a quiet strength about you." I thought about my mother, about the house she left me that Patricia and Marcus had tried to take, about the garden she'd started that I continued to grow. "I learned from the best," I replied. The neighborhood has mostly forgotten about Patricia's dramatic exit, though sometimes I still catch whispers about the grandmother who tried to frame her stepdaughter. But those whispers don't bother me. My children are safe, my home is secure, and the truth, captured by a simple teddy bear, made sure justice was served. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about standing your ground, protecting what matters, and letting the truth speak for itself. And sometimes that truth comes from the most unexpected places, like a teddy bear with glass eyes and a story to tell. "Your daughter is faking it," my sister-in-law Amanda screamed, her manicured hands reaching for Luna's carrier. "This emotional support animal nonsense has gone on long enough. She's just doing it for attention." I stepped between Amanda and my daughter's beloved cat, my heart pounding but my voice steady. "Back away from Luna right now. My 8-year-old daughter Emma clutched my leg, trembling as she watched her aunt's outburst. My name is Sarah Wilson, and I never thought I'd be defending my daughter's medical needs from my own family. Luna wasn't just a pet. She was the reason Emma could finally attend school regularly after years of debilitating anxiety attacks. But Amanda had always been convinced we were somehow gaming the system. It's ridiculous, Amanda continued, her voice dripping with disdain. My kids don't need special treatment. Emma's just spoiled, and you're enabling her. She gestured wildly at Luna's carrier, where our gray tabby sat calmly, her presence already helping Emma's breathing slow down. I'd gotten used to Amanda's snide comments since Emma's diagnosis 2 years ago. The whispered remarks at family gatherings about how anxiety wasn't real in children. The social media posts about parents who coddle their kids. But this was different. This time, she'd shown up at our house unannounced, demanding to prove Emma was faking. Emma, sweetie, I said softly, keeping my eyes on Amanda. Take Luna upstairs to your room and lock the door. I need to talk to Aunt Amanda alone. Emma quickly grabbed Luna's carrier and hurried upstairs, her tiny feet pattering on the steps. Oh, really nice, Amanda sneered, teaching her to run away from her problems. No wonder she's like this. I waited until I heard Emma's door click shut before turning to face my sister-in-law. What exactly do you think you're doing, Amanda? Bursting into our home, screaming at my daughter, trying to grab her support animal? I demanded, my voice unwavering in its defense of my daughter's well-being. I'm trying to help, Amanda shot back. Everyone's talking about it, you know. How you parade around that special cat, getting accommodations at school, making Emma think she's different. It's embarrassing to the whole family. After Emma's diagnosis, the security cameras I'd installed whirred quietly in the room's corners, capturing every moment of Amanda's tirade. She had no idea that her performance was being recorded, or that every word she spat would come back to haunt her. Emma's medical needs aren't up for debate, I said firmly. Her doctors, therapists, and the school administration all agree that Luna is essential for her well-being. Your opinion on the matter is neither needed nor welcome. Amanda's face reddened. Medical needs. Please. When I was her age, we didn't have all these fancy labels. We just dealt with things. And now you've convinced her she needs some cat to function normally? I thought about the years before Luna when Emma could barely leave the house. The panic attacks that left her gasping for air in the middle of class. The birthday parties she missed. The friends she couldn't make. Luna had changed everything, her steady presence and trained responses helping Emma regulate her emotions and face her fears. The medical records don't lie, Amanda, I said quietly. Neither do the school reports showing Emma's progress since Luna became part of our family. If you'd bothered to educate yourself instead of jumping to conclusions. Medical records? Amanda scoffed. More like expensive paperwork you bought to get your way. I'm telling everyone you're using that cat to make Emma dependent on you. My phone buzzed in my pocket, probably my husband James, Emma's stepfather, checking in. He'd been worried about Amanda's recent behavior, her obsession with exposing Emma's supposed fakery growing more intense over the past few months. I think you should leave, I said, moving toward the door. And I strongly suggest you think very carefully about your next steps. Emma's medical care isn't a family debate topic. Amanda grabbed her purse, her knuckles white with rage. This isn't over. That cat is weakening my niece, and someone needs to step in. If you don't do it, I will. As she stormed out, slamming the door behind her, I let out a shaky breath. Upstairs, I could hear Luna's soft purring through Emma's door, already helping my daughter calm down from the confrontation. I pulled out my phone and clicked on the security camera app, watching the recording of Amanda's outburst. She didn't know that this wasn't the first time I documented her behavior. I had years of evidence. Text messages dismissing Emma's diagnosis, social media posts mocking emotional support animals, recordings of her telling other family members that Emma was just sensitive and I was overprotective. Each incident was carefully saved and dated, building a case I hoped I'd never need to use. But as I watched Amanda's car speed away, I had a sinking feeling that today's confrontation was just the beginning. She'd always needed to be correct and in control, and Emma's condition challenged her rigid worldview in ways she couldn't accept. I climbed the stairs to Emma's room, knocking softly. Sweetie, it's Mom. Can I come in? The door opened slowly, revealing Emma sitting on her bed with Luna curled up in her lap. The cat's rhythmic purring matched my daughter's steadier breathing. "Is Aunt Amanda gone?" she asked in a small voice, her innocence and vulnerability tugging at my heartstrings. "Yes, honey, she's gone." I sat beside them, my presence a comforting shield against the storm that had just passed. "You did exactly the right thing, coming up here with Luna." Emma stroked Luna's soft fur, her fingers trembling slightly. "Why doesn't Aunt Amanda believe me? Luna helps me. She makes the scary feelings smaller." My heart ached at the confusion in her voice. "Some people have trouble understanding things they haven't experienced themselves," I explained carefully. "But that doesn't make your feelings any less real or important." As I held my daughter close, Luna's watchful green eyes never leaving Emma's face, I knew this wasn't the end of Amanda's crusade. She'd always been the family perfectionist who needed everything and everyone to fit into her narrow view of normal. My phone buzzed again, this time, a text from James. "Is everything okay? I just saw Amanda leave looking angry." I typed back quickly, "We need to talk. She tried to take Luna. Have it all on camera." Emma leaned against me, her breathing finally completely steady as Luna continued her calming presence. "Mom," she whispered, "you won't let anyone take Luna away, right?" I hugged her tighter, already planning my next steps. "No, sweetie. Luna's not going anywhere. I promise." Amanda didn't realize she'd just given me precisely what I needed, proof of her escalating behavior and willingness to harm Emma's well-being. The security cameras had caught everything. This time, I was ready to protect my daughter by any means necessary. But as I sat there, comforting Emma while Luna kept her vigilant watch, I couldn't shake the feeling that Amanda's next move would be even more drastic. She'd never handled being proven wrong, and now she'd been caught on camera trying to interfere with a child's medical support animal. I just hoped the evidence I'd gather would be enough to stop whatever she was planning next. 2 weeks after Amanda's outburst, life had settled back into our regular routine. Emma was excelling in school, Luna faithfully by her side, and we hadn't heard a peep from my sister-in-law. I should have known the silence was a warning sign. The first red flag came through my mother-in-law's concerned phone call. "Sarah, dear, Amanda's been telling everyone at church that Emma's cat is some scam. She's showing people articles about fake service animals and saying you're teaching Emma to manipulate the system." I gripped my phone tighter, watching through the kitchen window as Emma played in the backyard, Luna observing from her cat tree on the patio. "Has she said anything specific about what she plans to do?" "That's why I'm calling." My mother-in-law's voice dropped to a whisper. She was asking about Emma's school schedule when Luna goes outside, all sorts of details that seemed odd. A chill ran down my spine. I'd installed extra security cameras around the house after Amanda's last visit, but her interest in Emma's schedule felt ominous. My instincts proved right 3 days later. I was at work when I got the alert from our home security system. Motion had been detected in the backyard. I pulled up the camera feed on my phone, my heart stopping at what I saw. Amanda was there, trying to coax Luna through the cat door with treats. Emma was at school, and Luna was supposed to meet her there in an hour for her afternoon classes, part of the approved accommodation plan we'd worked out with the school district. I immediately called James, who was working from home that day. "Amanda's trying to take Luna." Before I could say more, I watched through the camera as James burst into the backyard. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Amanda jumped, dropping the treats. "I'm saving my niece. That cat is making her think she can't function without it. Once Emma realizes Luna's gone, she'll see she doesn't need all this special treatment." "Step away from Luna right now," James said coldly. "The police are already on their way." "The police?" Amanda laughed, but I could hear the nervousness creeping in. "For what?" "I'm doing what's best for Emma." Through the camera feed, I watched Luna retreat inside through her cat door, heading straight for her safe room, one of the behaviors she'd been trained for when sensing danger. "Best for Emma?" James stepped closer. "You mean like when you tried to grab Luna 2 weeks ago? Or when you've been spreading lies about Emma's medical condition, all of which, by the way, we have documented?" Amanda's face paled. "You've been spying on me?" "No, we've been protecting our daughter. Did you think we wouldn't have security cameras after your last stunt?" I was already in my car, racing home when I heard the police sirens through the phone and the camera feed. 2 officers approached the backyard, looking grim. "Mrs. Peterson." One officer addressed Amanda. We've received reports of attempted theft of a registered emotional support animal. We'll need you to come with us to answer some questions. This is ridiculous, Amanda sputtered. It's just a cat. I'm trying to help my niece. The second officer held up a tablet. Ma'am, interference with a documented support animal is a serious offense. We have video evidence of your attempted theft today, plus previous incidents. I arrived home just as they were escorting Amanda to the police car. She saw me and her face contorted with rage. This is your fault, she screamed. You've turned everyone against me. Emma was fine before you started this whole anxiety story. I walked past her to James, who hugged me tightly. Luna's safe, he whispered. She's in her room. I already called the school to let them know what happened and that we must adjust Emma's schedule today. As the police car drove away, I sank into a kitchen chair, shaking. We need to get a restraining order. She's not going to stop. James nodded, pulling out his phone. I'll call our lawyer. We have enough evidence now. The security footage, witnesses, her social media posts. Mom? Emma's voice came through my phone. She was calling from school. Is Luna okay? My teacher said there was an incident at home. Luna's fine, sweetheart, I assured her, trying to keep my voice steady. Dad protected her. We'll bring her to school as soon as possible, okay? After calming Emma, I went to check on Luna. She was in her special room, calm and collected as always. Her training had prepared her for situations like this, but I still felt sick thinking about what could have happened if we hadn't installed those cameras. The police called that afternoon. Amanda was being charged with attempted theft and harassment. She'd been served with a temporary restraining order, barring her from coming near our house, Emma's school, or any place Luna might be. But as I sat with Luna that evening, watching her help Emma work through the anxiety of the day's events, I knew this wasn't over. Amanda's arrest would only fuel her conviction that we were the ones in the wrong. I pulled out my phone and started documenting everything again, adding today's footage to our growing file. Whatever Amanda planned next, we would be ready. We had to be. Emma's well-being depended on it. The courtroom was silent except for the soft sound of Luna's collar bell as she sat perfectly beside Emma's chair. 3 months after Amanda's arrest, we finally faced her in court. I watched my sister-in-law's face as Dr. Martinez, Emma's psychiatrist, presented his testimony. Her usual smug expression was replaced by growing dismay as he detailed Emma's medical history and Luna's crucial role in her treatment. In the 2 years since Luna became part of Emma's treatment plan, Dr. Martinez explained, her anxiety attacks have decreased by 80%. Her school attendance has normalized, and she's able to participate in social activities that were previously impossible for her. Amanda shifted uncomfortably as the doctor continued. The incident with her aunt trying to remove Luna caused a significant setback in Emma's progress. We had to adjust her treatment plan to address new fears about losing her support animal. The security footage played next. Amanda's attempts to grab Luna, her screaming at Emma, and the attempted theft are all displayed on the courtroom screens. Each clip was accompanied by dated medical records showing how her actions had affected Emma's anxiety levels. My sister-in-law needs help, I told the judge when it was my turn to speak. Her obsession with proving Emma's condition isn't real has escalated to the point of harming a child's mental health. We're not asking for jail time. We're asking for mandatory counseling and a permanent restraining order. Emma squeezed my hand as I sat down. Luna immediately pressed against her legs, helping her stay calm in the tense atmosphere. Several people in the courtroom wiped away tears as they watched their interaction. When Amanda finally spoke, her voice had lost its usual defensive edge. I didn't understand, she admitted quietly. I thought I was helping. In our family, we never talked about mental health. We just pushed through things. The judge's verdict was clear: a permanent restraining order, mandatory counseling sessions, and community service at a local mental health organization. Amanda would have to learn about the realities of anxiety disorders and the vital role of support animals. As we left the courthouse, Emma knelt to hug Luna. We did it, girl. You're staying with me forever. Luna purred loudly, touching her paw to Emma's cheek, one of her trained comfort responses. The photographer from the local paper captured the moment and later used it in their article about emotional support animals and children's mental health. 6 months later, I received an unexpected letter from Amanda. She completed her counseling and worked part-time at a therapy animal training center. "I'm sorry," she wrote, "watching those children with their support animals, seeing how they help. I understand now what Luna means to Emma. I was wrong, and I'm working to be better." Emma read the letter with Luna curled in her lap. "Do you think Aunt Amanda understands now, Mom?" I smiled, watching Luna's calming presence help Emma process this new development. "I think she's learning, sweetheart. Sometimes people need time to understand things different from what they've always believed." As Emma did her homework with Luna faithfully by her side that evening, I updated our family photo album. Next to Emma's school picture, I placed the newspaper photo of her and Luna at the courthouse. The caption read, "Local family wins landmark case for children's mental health rights." Luna's soft purr filled the room as Emma kissed her head. "You're not just my support cat," she whispered. "You're my hero." Looking at them together, I knew every battle had been worth it. Sometimes the most potent love stories aren't between people. They're between a little girl and a cat who helped her find her courage and a mother who fought to protect them both. Amanda's journey to understanding might have been difficult. Still, it led to a greater awareness in our community about mental health and the incredible bond between children and their support animals. Emma's and Luna's stories became part of a larger conversation about accepting differences and supporting children's mental health needs. The security cameras that had protected them now served a different purpose, documenting their beautiful daily interactions for Emma's video diary about life with an emotional support animal. As I watched Emma fall asleep that night, Luna crowed protectively around her. I knew we'd won more than just a court case. We'd won understanding, acceptance, and the right for Emma to heal in her way with a faithful companion who had changed all our lives. Luna's green eyes met mine in the darkness, her quiet presence a reminder that sometimes the best medicine doesn't come in pills or therapy sessions, but in the form of a gentle soul with 4 paws and unwavering love. "Mommy, Grandma says Oreo is in hamster heaven." My 6-year-old daughter Emma sobbed through the phone, her little voice thick with heartbreak. My stomach dropped. Standing in my hotel room, hundreds of miles from home, I struggled to process her words. "What do you mean, sweetie?" "I'm Jessica, 34 years old, and somehow, I never expected my biggest battle would be against my own mother-in-law." Margaret had never been subtle about her disdain for me, my career, or the fact that I didn't run my household according to her outdated standards. "Grandma said Oreo got out and got hit by a car." My 8-year-old son Tyler chimed in, his voice shaky. "She said we shouldn't have left him with a stranger instead of her." The stranger was Amanda, a professional pet sitter I'd hired specifically because I didn't trust Margaret with Oreo. She'd made her feelings clear from day one, calling him a dirty rodent and suggesting we get a proper pet instead. I took a breath, steadying myself. "Let me talk to Grandma." There was shuffling on the other end, then Margaret's voice came through, sweet on the surface but laced with something smug beneath. "Oh, Jessica, it's just awful," she sighed. "The poor thing must have escaped from its cage. I found him this morning by the Thompsons' driveway. These things happen when mothers prioritize their careers over their families." My jaw clenched. There it is, the thinly veiled judgment, the constant need to paint me as an unfit mother. Too bad for her, I had facts on my side. I pulled up my messages from Amanda. The latest update was timestamped 9:47 a.m., nearly 2 hours after Margaret claimed to have found Oreo dead. A clear photo showed him happily munching on his favorite treats. I clicked over to the pet camera app on my phone, and there he was, alive, running on his wheel like nothing had happened. "That's interesting, Margaret," I said, forcing my voice to stay calm. "What time did you find him, exactly?" "Around 8 this morning. Such a tragedy." I smiled, though there was no warmth behind it. "Would you like to revise your story?" "Excuse me?" "Because I'm looking at a live feed of Oreo right now, and he's very much alive." The silence stretched. Then, a fumbling excuse. "Well, you must be mistaken. I saw him myself." "Stop lying." My voice was sharp now. "I have a pet camera. I have Amanda's updates. I have proof. Why would you tell my kids their pet died?" A sharp intake of breath. Then indignation. "You're spying on me?" I let out a humorless laugh. "No, Margaret. I'm monitoring my children's pet. The same one you just claimed was dead. Should I show the kids the live feed, or do you want to tell them the truth yourself?" Another pause. Then a hissed whisper. You're making me look like a fool. No, Margaret, you did that all on your own. She tried to justify it, something about teaching me a lesson for trusting a pet sitter over her, as if traumatizing my kids was some noble act of concern. I was done. Put my kids back on the phone. More shuffling, then Emma's teary voice. Mommy? Baby, I want you and Tyler to go check Oreo's cage. Right now, put me on speaker. Footsteps. A gasp. He's alive, Tyler shouted. Oreo's okay. But Grandma said. Emma's voice wavered in confusion. I took a steady breath. Grandma made a mistake, I said firmly. Oreo was fine. Amanda has been taking excellent care of him, and I can see him on my pet camera right now. You can see him? Tyler asked, the grief in his voice replaced by wonder. Yes. And I have pictures from Amanda too. Want me to send them? I forwarded the images, listening as their sniffles turned into relieved giggles. Meanwhile, in the background, Margaret tried to backpedal, but it was too late. My kids had just learned something crucial. Their grandmother would lie to them to prove a point. After making sure they were okay, I hung up and immediately dialed my husband. David picked up on the second ring. Hey, everything okay? No, I said flatly. Your mother just told our children their hamster was dead to prove a point about me traveling for work. A beat of stunned silence. She what? I have receipts, David. The pet cam, Amanda's messages, everything. Our kids were crying. I could hear the tension in his breath. Then finally, a low, steady response. I'm leaving work now. I'll handle it. I knew that tone. In 12 years of marriage, I'd only heard it a handful of times when he was truly angry. Not just annoyed, not just frustrated. Angry. Margaret had finally crossed a line she couldn't smooth over with passive-aggressive remarks and fake concern. As I sat in my hotel room, watching Oreo stuff his cheeks with food on the pet cam, one thought settled in my mind. If Margaret would lie about this, what else had she lied about? And more importantly, what was she planning next? This was just the beginning. The next morning, back home after cutting my business trip short, I sat at our kitchen table, scrolling through the pet camera footage from the past few days. My stomach twisted as the truth unfolded before me. Margaret hadn't just lied about Oreo's death. She had been sneaking into our house multiple times before the incident. The footage showed her standing in front of his cage, watching. In one clip, she was clearly trying to unlatch it. David set a coffee mug in front of me, his face drawn with exhaustion. He'd spent hours arguing with Margaret the night before after she refused to apologize. I've told my mother she's not to come by anymore without permission. I tightened my grip on my phone. She still has a key for emergencies. What's stopping her from? The doorbell rang. Through the window, I saw Amanda hurrying up the walkway, her expression tight with urgency. I opened the door, my heart already bracing for more bad news. I'm so sorry to bother you, she said, holding up her phone. But I think you need to see this. The screen displayed a series of messages from an unknown number. If you know what's good for you, you'll tell Jessica you lost the hamster. I'll make it worth your while. David, reading over my shoulder, went still. That's my mother's number. His hands clenched into fists. She tried to bribe you? I asked Amanda, disbelief giving way to fury. When I ignored her, she started threatening me, Amanda said, her voice tight. Said she'd report me for negligence. That she had proof I was mistreating animals. A sick, cold anger settled over me. We need to document everything. The footage, these texts. Already done, Amanda assured me. Something felt off from the start. I started keeping records the first time she approached me. David pulled out his phone. I'm calling a locksmith, today. But Margaret was already one step ahead. As the locksmith worked, my phone lit up with notifications. Margaret had posted in our neighborhood Facebook group. Our grandchildren's beloved pet died under her care. Please be careful who you trust. Dozens of sympathetic comments flooded in. Margaret was playing the role of the heartbroken grandmother perfectly. My hands shook as I showed David the post. His voice was dangerously calm when he called her. Mom, take down that post. I'm only trying to protect other families, she said sweetly. That woman is dangerous. And Jessica's obsession with cameras? Disturbing. Who spies on their own home? David didn't even flinch. The cameras that proved you lied? That showed you trying to break into Oreo's cage. Silence. Then an indignant hiss. I was checking on him. Someone needed to. Take down the post, or I'll share the footage of you breaking into our house and the text where you tried to bribe Amanda. You wouldn't dare, Margaret spat. I'm your mother. Try me. The post vanished 10 minutes later, but the damage was already done. The seed of doubt had been planted, and Amanda's phone was now flooding with cancellations. I exhaled slowly. I'll write a statement. Show everyone the truth. Amanda gave a grim smile. No need. I already reported her to the police for harassment and attempted extortion. Those texts weren't the only ones. That evening, as Emma and Tyler played with Oreo in his supervised playpen, David's phone rang. His sister, Kate. He put her on speaker. Mom's telling everyone you've lost your mind, Kate said bluntly. Says Jessica is spying on her with hidden cameras, that she was just trying to protect the kids from an unstable pet sitter. David sighed. Want to see the footage? Already did. Found it on your cloud share. Nice security system, by the way. But listen, there's something you need to know. This isn't the first time Mom's done something like this. I straightened. What do you mean? Kate hesitated. Remember Jenny's daughter's rabbit? The one that ran away when Mom was watching her? David frowned. That was 15 years ago. Yeah, well, Jenny's daughter just found her old diary. Turns out she saw Mom putting the rabbit in her car. Mom told her no one would believe her if she said anything. A chill ran through me. David exhaled sharply. Jesus Christ. As if on cue, my phone buzzed with a new message from Margaret. I hope you're happy. The police just came to question me. Is this how you repay everything I've done for your family? I turned the screen to David. He didn't hesitate. Save it. We'll need it for the restraining order paperwork. Across the room, Tyler looked up. What's a restraining order? David met my eyes, and I saw my own resolve reflected back at me. It means Grandma won't be visiting for a while, buddy. Because she lied about Oreo? Emma asked quietly. David's voice was firm. Yes, because she lied about Oreo. But we both knew the truth. This wasn't just about Oreo. Margaret had spent years perfecting her manipulation, and she wasn't about to stop now. She was already planning her next move, one that would force us to choose between protecting our children and maintaining peace in the family. And this time, she wouldn't just target a pet. The email from Child Protective Services arrived 3 days after we filed for the restraining order. We've received concerning reports about the welfare of minors in your home. My hands shook with rage as I stared at the screen. Margaret's retaliation had been swift and calculated. She's claiming we're neglecting the kids, I told David that evening. Says our excessive focus on a rodent is causing us to ignore their basic needs. She even submitted photos of empty snack cabinets as proof. David's jaw clenched. Empty because she threw out their food last time she was here. He ran a hand through his hair, his voice dark with fury. This ends now. The CPS investigation, though stressful, turned out to be Margaret's biggest mistake. Our caseworker, Miss Torres, was sharp and thorough. She noted how well-adjusted Emma and Tyler were, how their rooms were filled with books and artwork, how Oreo's care had actually taught them responsibility. Your mother-in-law submitted these? Miss Torres asked, showing us photos of an unmade bed and empty cabinets. The timestamp caught my eye. These were taken the day she told the kids Oreo died. I said, look at the date. Miss Torres' expression hardened. The same day your security cameras show her entering without permission. David nodded. We have footage of her removing items from our home. The investigation expanded. Other families came forward. Jenny's daughter, now an adult, formally reported the rabbit incident. 2 other mothers shared similar stories. Margaret had taught them lessons by traumatizing their pets. Margaret's campaign to paint us as unfit parents backfired spectacularly. The final CPS report didn't just clear us, it raised concerns about her. Evidence suggests a pattern of emotional manipulation and potential elder abuse, Miss Torres wrote, citing Margaret's history of using children and pets to control her family. And then Margaret crossed a line she couldn't walk back. I was in the kitchen when I heard Emma scream. I ran upstairs, my pulse hammering. Her bedroom window was open. Oreo's cage was empty. On her bed lay a note in Margaret's handwriting. Now you'll learn what happens to children who choose pets over family. She had forgotten one crucial detail. Oreo's new cage had a GPS tracker. Within an hour, Police found her at her house. Oreo was safe, confused but unharmed. As they led her away in handcuffs, she shrieked about protecting her family, about how we were the ones harming the children. The charges piled up: breaking and entering, attempted theft, harassment. At the court hearing, other family members finally spoke up. David's father took the stand, his voice heavy with regret. "I should have stopped her years ago. She always said she was teaching important lessons, but really she was punishing anyone who didn't do things her way." The judge's decision was swift: 5 years restraining order, mandatory counseling, no unsupervised contact with minors. Months later, Emma and Tyler still asked about their grandmother, but the questions had changed. "Why did Grandma try to hurt Oreo?" Emma asked one evening as we watched him run in his wheel. I chose my words carefully. Sometimes people think hurting others is okay if it gets them what they want. But that's never true. Tyler nodded. "Like when she lied about him dying." "Exactly," I said. "That's why we stand up to people who hurt others, even if they're family." David hung the restraining order next to Oreo's cage, a reminder that protecting our family sometimes meant keeping certain people away. Margaret still sends letters. She claims she's changed, that she misses the kids, but the security cameras stay on. Oreo's GPS tracker remains active. Some lessons we've learned are worth remembering. Last week, Emma drew a picture for her school's My Family project. It showed all of us: Mom, Dad, Tyler, and Oreo in his tracking-enabled cage. Beneath it, she wrote, "My family keeps each other safe." Looking at that drawing, I realized Margaret had taught us something valuable after all. True family protects. True family never manipulates. And sometimes the smallest member of the family, a hamster named Oreo, can reveal the biggest truths about love, trust, and standing up for what's right. The restraining order expires in 4 years. Until then, Oreo runs happily in his wheel. Our children grow stronger and wiser, and our home remains a place where pets are family and truth matters more than control. And Margaret? She posts on Facebook about ungrateful children and modern parenting, but fewer people listen. Sometimes the best revenge is simply living well, with or without a GPS track hamster. That's not a cat. It's a monster. Jessica's shrill voice echoed through her pristine living room as Magnus, my son's Maine Coon, gracefully jumped onto the windowsill. "Sarah, you can't possibly expect that thing to stay here." I watched my sister-in-law's face contort with disgust as she stared at our beloved family pet. Magnus was admittedly impressive at just over 25 pounds and nearly 4 feet long from nose to tail tip. But he was also the gentlest soul I ever met. "Jessica, we discussed this," I said, keeping my voice level. "It's only for 3 weeks while our house is being renovated. Magnus is well behaved and Tyler needs him." I glanced at my 12-year-old son, who was already having difficulty adjusting to staying at his aunt's house. "Well behaved," Jessica scoffed, adjusting her designer blazer. "Look at all the hair it's already shedding. And those paw prints on my imported tiles." She pointed accusingly at invisible marks on her spotless floor. Tyler moved closer to Magnus, his hand protectively stroking the cat's silver-gray fur. "His name is Magnus, Aunt Jessica, not it, and he doesn't shed that much." I'd always known Jessica had an issue with pets. Her house looked more like a furniture showroom than a home. But her reaction to Magnus seemed excessive, even for her. Ever since Tyler had rescued him from a local shelter 3 years ago, Jessica had made it her mission to criticize everything about him. 3 weeks, Jessica muttered, typing furiously on her phone. 3 weeks of that monster terrorizing my perfect home. "Mark my words, Sarah, if that thing breaks anything." "Magnus won't break anything," Tyler interrupted, his voice quiet but firm. "He's smart and careful. That's why the shelter said he was special." Jessica rolled her eyes. "Special? Please, it's just an oversized stray that got lucky. I still can't believe you chose that thing over a purebred cat." I bit back a sharp retort, reminding myself we needed this temporary arrangement. Our house renovations had hit unexpected complications, and Jessica's place was the only option available on such short notice. My husband, Tom, Jessica's brother, was away on a business trip, leaving me alone to handle this delicate situation. That first night, I caught Jessica taking photos of Magnus, muttering about documenting the damage. She followed him around with her phone, snapping pictures whenever he even looked at her precious furniture. "Mom, Tyler whispered as we unpacked in the guest room. I don't think Aunt Jessica likes Magnus. Your aunt just needs time to adjust, I said, though I shared his concerns. Magnus will win her over. However, Jessica's behavior grew increasingly hostile over the next few days. She'd accidentally spray Magnus with water if he came too close to her designer couch, claiming she was just watering her plants. She'd blast loud music whenever he tried to nap, insisting it was part of her daily routine. The breaking point came exactly 1 week into our stay. I returned from grocery shopping to find Tyler in tears and Magnus nowhere in sight. Mom. Tyler ran to me, his words tumbling between sobs. Aunt Jessica said. Magnus knocked over her crystal vase, but he was with me the whole time. Now she's saying he has to go. I found Jessica in her home office, looking too pleased with herself. Sarah, be reasonable, she said before I could speak. That monster is too big for this house. I've already called animal control. They'll be here within the hour. You did what? I fought to keep my voice steady. Jessica, you have no right. I have every right, she snapped. It's my house, and that thing is a menace. Did you know Maine Coons aren't even real cats? They're part wildcat or wolf or something equally dangerous. I've been doing my research. I almost laughed at the absurdity of her statement, but then I saw the glint in her eyes. This wasn't about Magnus. This was about control, about Jessica's need to dominate every situation. Show me the broken vase, I demanded. Jessica's smile faltered. I had cleaned it up already, for safety. Really? Because Tyler says Magnus was with him all morning. And I know Magnus is microchipped and DNA registered. The shelter required it. Would you like to see his records? DNA registered. Jessica's perfectly manicured hand flew to her throat. What do you mean? I pulled out my phone, quickly finding the email from the shelter. The shelter had all its rescue cats tested through a new genetics program. They track lineage, breed authenticity, and even potential health issues. Magnus's results were interesting. Jessica's face paled slightly. Interesting. How? Before I could answer, the doorbell rang. Jessica jumped up. That must be animal control. Finally. But when I opened the door, it wasn't animal control. Instead, a distinguished-looking woman in a lab coat stood there, holding a tablet and wearing an ID badge from the National Feline Genetics Laboratory. Mrs. Harrison, she asked, looking at me. I'm Dr. Eleanor Phillips. We've been trying to reach you about your Maine Coon's DNA results. There's something quite extraordinary we need to discuss. Dr. Phillips sat in Jessica's pristine living room, her tablet displaying complex genetic charts, while Magnus lounged regally on the floor beside Tyler. Jessica hovered anxiously by her precious vase collection, her phone still clutched in her hand. As I was saying, Dr. Phillips continued, her eyes bright with excitement, Magnus's DNA test revealed something remarkable. His genetic markers match those of a legendary line of Maine Coons bred for Russian nobility in the late 1800s. I blinked in surprise. Russian nobility? Yes. Dr. Phillips nodded enthusiastically. The Romanov family maintained a specific breeding program for what they called their imperial cats. These Maine Coons were known for their exceptional size, intelligence, and unique silver-gray coloring, exactly like Magnus. Tyler beamed, scratching behind Magnus's ears. The massive cat purred contentedly, seemingly aware he was the center of attention. That's impossible. Jessica sputtered. It's just a shelter cat. Dr. Phillips smiled patiently. Many of these imperial cats were smuggled out during the Russian Revolution. Their descendants scattered across Europe and eventually worldwide. We've been tracking this particular bloodline for years. Magnus is one of only 5 known living descendants. I remembered the day we'd found Magnus at the shelter. He'd been huddled in a corner of his cage, massive but gentle, his intelligent eyes following our every move. The shelter workers had mentioned he'd been found wandering near the docks with no collar or chip at the time. So he's not just special, Tyler said proudly, he's royal. Precisely, Dr. Phillips agreed. Our laboratory would like to include Magnus in our breeding program. With your permission, of course. His genetics are invaluable for preserving this historic bloodline. Jessica sank into her designer armchair, her face a mixture of shock and dismay. The animal control van she'd been watching for through the window drove past without stopping. Apparently, she'd canceled the call when Dr. Phillips arrived. The compensation for participating in the breeding program is quite generous, Dr. Phillips continued, and Magnus would only need to visit our facility occasionally. We've already had interest from several prestigious catteries. Compensation? Jessica's head snapped up. How much are we talking about? That's not important right now, I interjected, seeing the calculating look in my sister-in-law's eyes. What matters is what's best for Magnus and Tyler. Dr. Phillips pulled up another document on her tablet. We've also discovered something else fascinating about Magnus's genetic profile. These imperial cats were specifically bred for their therapeutic properties. Therapeutic properties? Tyler asked, looking confused. Yes. Their unique genetic marker makes them especially attuned to human emotions. They were originally bred to be companions for the royal children. Their size and temperament made them perfect emotional support animals, though they didn't use that term back then. I thought about how Magnus always seemed to know when Tyler was upset, how he'd curl his massive body around my son during thunderstorms or after a bad day at school. What we attributed to typical cat behavior was an inherited trait. That explains so much, I murmured, watching Magnus gently headbutt Tyler's hand. Jessica stood up abruptly. Well, if he's so valuable, perhaps he shouldn't stay here. I mean, my house isn't equipped for such a prestigious pet. Oh, I wouldn't worry, Dr. Phillips chirped. These cats are known for their careful nature. They're quite fastidious about not damaging their surroundings. It's another bred trait. They were meant to live in palaces after all. Jessica's face flushed as she glanced at her precious vase collection, the ones she'd accused Magnus of endangering. I may have overreacted earlier, she admitted reluctantly. Speaking of earlier, I set my voice firm. I think you owe Tyler and Magnus an apology. Before Jessica could respond, her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her eyes widened. The cat blogs are going crazy. Someone posted about a Romanov cat being discovered. She looked accusingly at Dr. Phillips. News travels fast in the cat fancy world. Dr. Phillips shrugged. Magnus's DNA results are quite exciting for the breeding community. I've already received several calls from cat shows interested in featuring him. Tyler's eyes lit up. Cat shows? Could we enter Magnus in shows, Mom? If you're interested, Dr. Phillips said, Magnus would certainly be welcome. His lineage makes him notable, but his size and coloring are exceptional even for his breed. I watched as Jessica's attitude underwent a remarkable transformation. Suddenly, the monster cat was our distinguished house guest, and she was rapidly texting her friends about her connection to feline royalty. Perhaps we could work something out, Jessica said, trying to sound casual. About them staying here longer, I mean, Magnus needs a proper environment and my house does have the right aesthetic. I caught Dr. Phillips hiding a smile behind her tablet. The same cat Jessica had tried to evict an hour ago was now apparently worthy of her precious house. But I noticed she kept her distance from Magnus, eyeing him with respect and lingering nervousness. We'll stick to the original 3 weeks, I said firmly, but it's good to know Magnus will be welcome here. As if understanding he'd been vindicated, Magnus stood up, stretched his considerable length, and deliberately padded to Jessica's favorite white couch. We all watched as he delicately settled himself on the floor beside it, close enough to make a statement but carefully avoiding contact with the expensive fabric. Now then, Dr. Phillips said, pulling out some forms, shall we discuss the details of the breeding program? And perhaps you'd like to hear more about Magnus's royal ancestors. Over the next 2 weeks, our lives transformed in unexpected ways. Magnus, once the monster of Jessica's nightmares, became her social media star. She even rearranged her living room to create a royal cat corner, complete with an elaborate cat tree she'd insisted on buying. It's for his noble breeding, she explained as if she hadn't been trying to get rid of him just days ago. A Romanov descendant can't sleep on regular cat furniture. Tyler found the situation amusing, especially when Jessica's snobbish friends started visiting with expensive cat treats and gifts for Magnus. Our laid-back Maine Coon accepted the attention with typical feline indifference, though he still preferred his old bed from home and Tyler's company to all the fancy new accessories. The breeding program turned out to be more fascinating than we'd imagined. Dr. Phillips arranged for Magnus to meet his future mate, a beautiful female Maine Coon named Aurora, whose lineage also traced back to the imperial cats. The introduction occurred at the genetics lab, with Jessica insisting on coming along to document this historic moment. This could be the start of rebuilding the entire imperial line, Dr. Phillips explained as we watched Magnus and Aurora size each other up. Their kittens would be incredibly valuable, both genetically and historically. Tyler, who'd been quiet during most of these discussions, finally spoke up. But Magnus will still live with us, right? He won't have to stay at the lab. Of course, he'll stay with you, Dr. Phillips assured him. We only need him here for scheduled visits. His home environment, especially his bond with Tyler, is crucial for maintaining his excellent temperament. Jessica, who'd been filming everything on her phone, suddenly gasped. Oh my goodness, look at my followers. The video of Magnus's royal cat corner has gone viral. I eye-rolled with Tyler. Jessica's social media transformation from cat critic to cat enthusiast was perhaps the most entertaining part of this whole experience. She'd even started referring to herself as Magnus's aunt in her posts. As our 3 weeks at Jessica's house drew close, I noticed another unexpected change. Tyler, who'd always been shy and reserved, had grown more confident. Having his cat recognized as special helped him feel special too. He'd started giving little presentations to Jessica's visitors about Maine Coon history and Magnus's imperial lineage. Jessica surprised us all the day before we were due to move back home. I've been thinking, she said over breakfast, trying to sound casual. Your house renovations must have been quite expensive. Perhaps I could help. The breeding program compensation could cover it easily. I looked at her carefully. That's very generous, Jessica, but Magnus is Tyler's cat. Any compensation from the program will go into a savings account for his future. Oh, Jessica looked genuinely disappointed. Well, at least let me host Magnus's first official cat show appearance. I've already been in touch with some organizers. Actually, Tyler interrupted. Dr. Phillips said we should wait on shows. Magnus needs to focus on the breeding program first, and too much excitement might stress him out. Jessica deflated slightly but nodded. Of course. We must think of his royal duties first. As we packed up our belongings that evening, I found Magnus in his royal corner, completely ignoring the expensive cat tree in favor of the cardboard box Tyler had given him to play with. Some things never change, do they? I laughed, watching the massive cat squeeze himself into the too small box. Mom, Tyler said thoughtfully, do you think Magnus always knew he was special? Even at the shelter? I looked at our extraordinary pet, who was now purring contentedly in his box. Despite his royal blood, he was the picture of ordinary cat behavior. I think Magnus knew exactly who he was, I replied. He was just waiting for the right people to figure it out too. Later that night, as we said our goodbyes, Jessica actually hugged Magnus, something I never thought I'd see. You're welcome back anytime, she told him earnestly. Both of you, she added, smiling at Tyler. As we drove home, Tyler was sleeping in the back seat with Magnus protectively curled around him, and I couldn't help but smile. Our monster cat had done more than prove his royal heritage. He'd helped bridge family divides, boost my son's confidence, and even soften Jessica's rigid worldview. Dr. Phillips mentioned that imperial cats were bred to bring people together, provide comfort, and foster understanding. Looking at my son and his extraordinary pet, I realized Magnus had been doing precisely that all along, DNA test or not. When we finally walked into our newly renovated house, Magnus took a regal tour of his domain, checking each room before settling in his favorite window spot, the one Jessica once claimed was being ruined by cat hair. Welcome home, Your Highness, Tyler giggled, scratching Magnus's chin. The massive cat just purred, perfectly content being exactly who he'd always been. Royal blood, standard box, and all.